Hi, I'm Eric Knowles, President of the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce, and this is the Chamber's Member Connection. But before we get started, a word from one of our sponsors. And so we're back, and I always talk about, and you probably say, he's always excited. Yeah, I am, because this is like an amazing opportunity to sit down with our members. But I'm truly excited about this member that we have on today. You talk about someone who has built a business and grown a business, and someone who is a major supporter of the Chamber. I am truly excited to have Ms. Gary Harris of Alpha One Staffing on.
How are you?
I'm
glad
great.
to be here.
I'm great. It's so good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you as well.
Absolutely. So, I mentioned the fact that you grew your business from the bottom up, Alpha One Staffing. Before we get into Alpha One Staffing, who's Gary Harris?
Well, Gary Harris is was a girl that grew up in Fort Myers, Florida. Then I got married and came to Miami, pursued a career in banking, and did that for a very long time. Branch manager of what's now Chase on 58th and 7. So I was very familiar with the Edison community, and that's how I became familiar with the Miami-Dade Chamber.
Wow.
Yeah, I started my membership with the Chamber with Dorothy Baker.
Wow.
She kind of
I didn't know that story.
You didn't?
No, I didn't know that.
She introduced me to Black Miami when I first became a branch manager, and just really, under her leadership and guidance, understood the business and Black business for sure. And after my banking career, I decided that I wanted to, do my own thing and start my own company, and just loved the staffing industry and recruitment, and decided that was going to be my journey.
Okay.
But I, throughout the entire time, just continued to be a member of the Chamber, still there with
Bill.
with Bill, yes, absolutely, and then with you, of course, which is absolutely amazing. If we go back and take a look at it, I know there's some members that have been in the Chamber longer than me, but I'm probably up there.
You're
with,
up there, yeah.
With the numbers,
when you talk about Dorothy Baker, you definitely have been up there, because I've been there 8 years. Bill was there about 8 years, and obviously Dorothy was 20 plus years.
Right,
so,
right. It's been a minute.
But the other thing that you don't know, that used to be my bank.
Oh,
because
really?
I grew up on 53rd Street and 5th.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
I grew up around the corner, so I know exactly. I know the bank.
Yeah, I'm sure our path crossed back in the day.
Exactly.
When I was branch manager, my name was Kincaid, so everybody knows me by Gary Kincaid.
Okay.
But yeah,
okay.
That
I'm
was
sure we did.
A love for the community. That's where I really fell in love with the community. I did not know at that time, until I was actually assigned to that branch. And when they assigned me to that branch, I was very new to Miami.
Okay.
And I refused to go. I said, I absolutely will not work in that community.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
See, good things come out of the community.
Good things come out. And when I got there, I just fell in love with
Right.
the community and just realized that this was the place where I
Yeah,
was
I'm
supposed
an
to be.
Edison graduate, and
Red Raiders.
I'm a Red Raider.
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
awesome. Yes.
So Alpha One staffing, I mean, gosh, when I think about employment these days and the challenges that a lot of employers are having, what does Alpha One do? What is your sweet spot? What makes you tick? How do you do what you do?
Yeah, we're very fortunate that we early in our career we had some very strong partnerships with Career South Florida. When we started Alpha One, or when I started Alpha One with my partners, it was a very difficult time. It was in 2009 where we were in a recession as well. It was very, very difficult for a staffing agency or anyone that was doing any type of employment to survive. And we were very fortunate to land a small contract with, Career Source, and I think they became one of our first customers when we originally started. And we realized that we could take situations like that, and I'm going to say where there is a funding lag, that we could be their source of benefits and employment up front, and then we're actually paid, 3 or 4, 30 to 45 days later.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we made our name in the community. We kind of went with nonprofits that would need that upfront money, and we could do the payroll and the benefits for them and be paid later. So that led to us becoming sort of experts in municipality and nonprofit staffing. Went out for one of the largest contracts for Miami-Dade County, which you're very familiar, back in 2012, 13, and just that catapulted us into a very unique position because we became one of the largest employers, black employers in Miami-Dade County, hiring somewhere with the county, somewhere upwards near numbers of 600 or 700 at any given time. That experience led us to do more municipalities and more, contract labor. So we spread that out through the state of Florida, and other states, and kind of build our name and reputation on that.
Right, right. Well, you kind of being a little humble about it. Like you said, you started out in Dade County doing things, basically with Career Source, with, I don't know if Rick Beasley was around at that time.
Rick was around.
So Rick Beasley and the Career Source South Florida. I have to bring Rick on the show because what he's doing is phenomenal as well.
He's a great person and very helpful.
And so, as you said, you transitioned to doing various municipalities, and then the state of Florida, and then you said other states. But let's talk about that other state stuff, federal work that you've been doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a contract to provide staff with the Navy, and we've been doing that now for the past 4 or 5 years, which is great.
Okay.
We also set up another division to do disaster management, and that comes out of some of the stuff that we do with the federal government that has led us into other states. We do disaster management in states such as Louisiana. We've had people in Louisiana 3 or 4 consecutive years, and they're still working from the previous storms.
Wow.
And we do North Carolina, Texas, Mississippi, anywhere through that belt where you have disaster and storms. Yes, that's where you can find us.
Now you mentioned, like, you are, I guess, how would I put it, the undergirding of a company. You talked about benefits, et cetera. Talk about that a little bit, and how does that work?
Yeah. So let's just take the chamber, for example, and you wanted to outsource all of your employees to, a staffing agency. Then we become the employer of record.
Okay.
We pay all of the costs associated with the employee, the liability, the workers' comp, the food or the suit, or all of that, and we wrap that up benefits as well, health insurance, dental, life insurance. We wrap that up into one pricing for you as the employer, which is typically for small businesses and medium-sized businesses lower than what you can do it or an employer can do it, because we have the ability to have group rates that is maybe not affordable to small businesses.
Wow.
So, yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And how many years you been doing this?
I've been doing this now my company, this is our 15th year. In
Okay.
October, we're having our 15th year anniversary. But I've been doing this probably 25 years.
Okay.
As I mentioned prior to that, I was in banking.
Right.
Yes.
So when we talk, and as I mentioned when we first started talking, there's a lot of challenges. You see a lot of signs out now. We're hiring.
Yes.
So what have you seen since the pandemic? I mean, we're from my perspective, we're still somewhat in the pandemic.
Right.
So what has changed for your company and for the industry since the pandemic?
Well, the biggest change has been in the attitude of the employees. What we saw in the pandemic is that, they call it the Great Resignation. People just decided that they weren't going to be status quo, and I think employees realized that they had the upper hand as it relates to the pandemic, and they opted for better wages. They opted for better opportunities, and they spoke loud and clear to employers to say, we want this, and we're not going to come back to work until you can actually provide, a much better living wage.
Okay.
And I think that's great.
Right.
In a lot of cases, people were being underpaid and not really appreciated.
Right, overworked.
Overworked and underpaid. So this is what has changed. So we are seeing an environment where the salaries have increased.
Okay.
The requirements have lessened a little bit. You still need to have the certifications and you still need to have the education, but you may not need the work history that you used to.
Okay.
People are given a different opportunity because, the demand is greater. So you see a lot of people who are coming out of college and university who are landing positions that typically require that they had experience, that they don't need that experience anymore. They're taking the education in place of the
Right.
experience. So I think it's great.
Right. Now, there's another area where you have, I guess you would call us seniors who are going back to work. Mm-hmm. And how do you see that affecting the work pool?
I see that affecting the work pool in a very positive aspect. We have we had a very large client in Broward County who needed to have people that were willing to work from 8 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. Now, typically, that would be a hard position to fill because, that's a difficult schedule, and people usually want 8 hours or longer. But it was a perfect sweet spot for seniors.
Okay.
Because they get up early in the morning, and they're usually done by 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon and ready to take that nap. So it was a great time for us to put that senior population to work. So, and not just in that, but that was a prime example of
Right.
how we have been able to assist the senior population with long-term, sustainable employment.
Right.
So it's a great pool for us to cast our net out and find very good candidates. And when you're talking about the senior population, you're talking about people who show up, great customer service, patient,
Right.
So it's a great.
Talking about
great
customer
place.
service.
Yes.
That seems like it's pretty much gone out of the window
Yeah,
in
doesn't it?
a lot of cases.
Yeah,
We both, and those who are listening, have frequented businesses, and customer service is not what it used to be. Mm-hmm. Talk about that a little bit.
I think, and of course I'm not the expert, but when I go to a restaurant or someplace, everybody's short-staffed, and the demand is so high. I don't know if you notice, even in the quality of the food, because it's so rushed. And then there's inexperience in the back house,
Right.
Which affects the quality of the food. And also there's inexperience in the front house, which is your customer service. So
Right.
there is such a need for that, those people. And I was just talking about the experience. The experienced people have moved on.
Right.
So now we are bringing in people who don't have the experience yet, and then there's a lack of service along with that. So I believe that over time that will massage itself out, and the service will get better.
Yeah, I've seen
Yes.
it happening. Actually, I'll give you an example. I was at wasn't necessarily a high-end restaurant, but about a year ago, and the employees, as you said, it was like they had to have somebody there to fill the job,
Right.
and that's basically what that person was doing.
Right.
But the experience was not there, and you could see that. But I went back since, and it has actually transitioned some. So, it really is challenging these days. I just find it interesting on the mindset of our younger people. Now, we just talked about seniors. Now let's transition back to our younger folks who are coming out of college,
Right.
or not even going to college. They made a decision that they want to go into the workforce.
Right.
And a lot of our young folks, they want to be the boss. How do you deal with that? And I mean, you're an employment agency, and obviously you're bringing people in to fulfill a need. How do you deal with that, with those mindsets of, I want to be the boss? I'm not necessarily, and I use the terminology, learning how to mop the floor. Nobody wants to mop the floor.
Right. Again, that is a challenge. I think what we do is that we work with a lot of, I'm going to go back to the nonprofits. We work with, we staff a lot of industry where the students are brought in for paid work experience. And we then typically cherry pick those students who have done well in those paid work experience programs. Those paid work experience programs help them to understand that you have to come in someplace.
Right.
You got to work your way up to what you feel like is a good salary and a good position.
Right.
So it gives them a very good eye opener as to, okay, my expectation is that I'm gonna make $20, $30 an hour when I come in, but really it's $15 dollars an hour.
Right.
So those programs are great, and again, we pick a lot of those people from those paid work programs to introduce them to the companies that may need staff, and they've been pruned a little bit, so they know. Yeah, absolutely.
This time just runs. I can talk another good half hour. But
are we cutting?
yeah, we're
wow.
Yeah, our time has ran on.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to know more about Alpha One Staffing, how can they get in touch with you?
Okay, great. You can visit our website at www.alphaonestaffing.com, and where you'll find a myriad of positions that we have available, or you can give us a call and talk to us about the positions that we have and what's coming up. And we're coming into our hurricane season, so we really want to hear from people that want to work disaster management. So that would be a great opportunity to reach out to us and talk to us.
And that number is?
That number is, I can't remember the 800 number, but the local number is 305-620-3633.
And if you want to know more about the Miami-Dade Chamber, go to www.m-dcc.org or call the Chamber at 305-751-8648. Thank you. This has been the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. And I know you're getting tired of me talking about how excited I am about my guests that come on this show, but hey, I got some great guests and I'm excited again. Dr. Angela Walker, how are you?
I am well, Eric. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure, having you here. And it's Angel Walk Chiropractic is your business.
Exactly. And I'm a chiropractor by profession.
Okay.
And Angel Walk Chiropractic is my VIP concierge, mobile, if you will, chiropractic practice. And I also just launched a CBD line of products called Ally Inc. Okay.
All right.
Yes.
And so let's get back into this chiropractic. I can't even say the word.
Yes, it's a tongue twister.
It is a tongue twister, and for some people it's scary.
Right.
So I want you to take the fear out of the chiropractic practice, so our guests that are watching can, let's take us from the basics to the importance of chiropractic care.
Yes.
But before we go there, who is Dr. Walker?
That's a good question. I am someone who just loves to help people. I feel that I'm here. My purpose here is to help others and to serve, to give, to do, to serve. And I just want to be able to help as many people as I can, either through chiropractic care, holistic wellness, which to me encompasses mind, body, and spirit. And that's another reason why I've gotten into the CBD line of products, because of course we know all the benefits of CBD, and it doesn't have to have any other hallucinogenic, properties in order for you to get the true essence and pure, medicinal properties of the plant.
Okay, well, since we're there, let's talk about that a little bit. Because obviously CBD, and you got all of these clinics popping up all over the place. So what enticed you to go into that business?
Even this aspect of my life and how I live my life, and in a very holistic way, from my diet to, walking as much as I can throughout the week. I try to get at least 3 times in a week, drinking, aloe with water in the mornings. And, I love, your garden that you have, that you're, you show off a little on social media. I really always, hone in on that. And just from the very beginning, because my family is from Trinidad and Tobago.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That I did not know.
Yes, so my family's Trini. And, I've always been taught to eat in a holistic manner, or eat natural foods and whatnot. So even when it came to, after I had my daughter, when it came to taking care of my immediate family, I always chose a very holistic route. And that's another reason why I chose chiropractic. Chiropractic care, of course, is an alternative, holistic form, or we say we call them CAMs, or they are like an alternative form of medicinal, or what would you say, a alternative to the traditional allopathic medical model. Okay. So you don't have to have a prescription, so to speak.
I got you.
Okay.
All right.
And it is very hands-on. Chiro does mean hands, and practicing with our hands. We also are central nervous system doctors, where we actually, every time we do an adjustment at a certain level, each level has nerves and blood vessels that carry oxygen to and from those areas, maybe to the eye, maybe to your heart, to your stomach. So every level of the spine is attached or associated with a part or function, an organ or a function of your body. Okay? So that's how we end up being called central nervous system doctors, because we're affecting the brain and the spinal cord. Now, going back to Ally, which is my CBD line and company, it's also something that affects a system of the body. It's the endocannabinoid system, okay, where your body can tend to have some stress anxiety, issues with sleeping, CBD actually helps to calm and alleviate some of these symptoms that can tend to come about when we're having whatever situation or scenario that we're facing, you know, in life. It's a stressful time right now.
Right. We all going through, I mean, obviously for the last couple of years, going through the pandemic, certain degree still in the pandemic. We don't know when the next strain is going to pop up.
Right.
And so we're still, you know, I talk to family members and, you know, you need to stay home. You're always out. And I mean, we got to keep on living.
We do.
And so to your point, there's a lot of stress out there still. A lot of people, you know, concerned about, you know, what's next.
Yes.
And so you're saying that this particular product is helpful.
Yes.
In that process.
Very helpful. I have actually had anyone who's tried this particular product, my product, I've had them give me, you know, great reviews or, you know, a good testimony, so to speak, about it, where it's helped them with their anxiety throughout the day. It also helps them get a good night's rest, and just sleep is very important.
So what is it ingested or is it an application on the skin? What?
So CBD does come in different forms.
Right.
So you have like oral oils,
right.
or you can have a gummy, which this line actually, my line is starting out with a gummy.
Okay.
So it is digested, or it's an ingestible, and you start out with like one per day. And then if you feel like you don't get the necessary or the desired effect that you want, because it will, like I said, create a sense of calmness, even without the THC. These are THC free.
Right.
Okay, so they have less than...
Because there are those gummies out there with...
yes, there are gummies.
So this is without the THC.
This is without the THC. However, this gummy has 25 milligrams of CBD. Most of the gummies have about 3.5, 7 milligrams. This is 25.
Wow.
So if you end up taking 2, you are really going to feel the effect of it. And most people want to take a nice nap.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But you can function. That's the whole point of CBD too, and why it's so important that, you know, this becomes more readily available and accessible to others and to people who need it.
Right.
Because you can function, you know, without the THC component, you can go about your day and deal with your anxiety, you know, or, you know, if you want to have, or if you're having trouble having rest, you know, you can have a good night's sleep without this high. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, interesting. That's very interesting. I mean, you hear about it so much and definitely want to learn more about it with you. Let's go back to our chiropractic.
Yes.
Now, you said you are the traveling. Explain that.
Yes. So I have patients. I originally had a practice in Aventura, actually, with a partner. And since leaving there and having my own practice solo, I decided to, you know, come away from that just prior to the pandemic and everything. And I started working with orthopedic surgeons during the day. Okay. So I work with at a spine and joint institute. Okay. And then a lot of my patients wanted to stay with me. All right. So my patients from my practice are the patients that I still see. Okay. And so I see them maybe on a Thursday evening or a Saturday morning, whatever's most convenient for them and for my schedule. We typically can work something out. And so I do also take on new clients, anyone who's recommended, like if you recommended someone or you yourself would like a house call or a concierge visit, a VIP visit, then I would come to you.
And what would a visit entail?
Okay, that's a great question. First and foremost, I am a chiropractor that I'm not just going to adjust you without doing any type of soft tissue work, meaning I will use various instruments to break down trigger points. Trigger points are like little knots that we can get in our muscles, or they can become ropey as well. And so I break those down. Whatever area that you're having a problem with, I'm going to focus in that area first and do some tissue work, some soft tissue work. And I also have different modalities. So I have E-stim, and I also, which is electrical stimulation. Basically, E-stim just tires the muscle out so that when I remove the pads, the muscle kind of just, relaxes. And I have ultrasound, which actually removes inflammation, and it's kind of a flushing. So sometimes you can get a swelling in the area, say in the knee area, or even in the low back or neck region, you can get some inflammation. The ultrasound actually will flush that area and speed up healing because it goes to the cellular level to speed up healing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after all that is done,
Yes.
and you talk about adjusting, and I've seen the videos, necks being pulled, or
Yes. And they make all the loud cracks.
Yeah, that part. Part. That's the scary part.
Yes.
That's the scary part to me. And,
Yes.
And you've heard these stories about chiropractors, and so debunk the myth, please.
Okay. Thank you, because that is what most people are scared of. And actually, that's just nitrogen, it's like nitrous gas that builds up in between the joints. It's just a release of gas. That's a pop, and it sounds like a crack, right? But we're not cracking any bones. We're actually moving the bones. We're adjusting the bone, putting it back into alignment, so that those nerves have no compression or pressure on them. The blood vessels don't have any pressure on them. So you get rich oxygenated blood going to your organs, and you have great brain signals from the nerves, going from the organs or tissues to the brain. Okay, so we remove interferences. And there's nothing to be scared of. Even when it comes to the neck, there's some men that don't want their neck adjusted.
I mean, that's a scary thing. We grow up playing football and in sports, and neck injury is one of the scariest things that you can have. And so when you see that, and you see somebody's head being
adjusted. Well, this is the thing. You have to use so much force because the muscles are supportive. And remember, you have ligaments and tendons that attach the muscles to the bone.
Right.
The muscles are not going to allow me or any other chiropractor to twist your head off or anything like that. And when it comes to the back, I would have to jump from a high level onto your back to actually break a rib or break, a bone in that area. Right. So really, chiropractic is a science and an art.
Okay.
What we do is an art, right? Because we can feel the bones, and we can feel the different levels and what's actually happening at that level, and we make the correction and the adjustment. Right? Now, the science part of it is the whole medical aspect and the removal of the interference and the functionality that comes along with the alignment, because anatomy and function go together. If you have an interference, you don't have proper function of the liver. Say you have the blood vessels and the nerves cut off. You're not getting proper signals going to the liver. You're not getting proper oxygenated blood going to the liver. Once I create the adjustment and make the correction and I open that channel, then you get rich oxygenated blood there, which helps with function, right?
Wow.
And the signal, because the brain is telling the liver what to do, right?
Right.
And that's why chiropractic is so important.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a lesson in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Wow.
People don't realize that we're doing all that, and
Right.
it's very simple what we do, in a sense. However, it's very important, and it's it's life changing, and it's definitely for wellness.
Wow. Well, our time has flown by.
I can't believe it's over.
Yeah. And so, if someone wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
You can reach me on Facebook at Angela R. Walker DC, and you can reach me on Instagram at AngelWalk04. And also, you can reach me now through yourally.com. That's your, Y-O-U-R, ally, ALLYI.com.
Okay.
Okay?
Wow, this time has flown by. And if you want to know more about the Chamber, go to www.m-dcc.org or call the Chamber at 305-751-8648. This has been the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce Member Connection. And as you know, I'm the excited guy in the seat that get to interview these amazing people. And today I have Miss Lisa Barber Hanaway. She is the manager of the Miramar Cultural Center. Wow, that's a lot. Miramar is growing like crazy,
It really is.
and you're running the Cultural Center.
Well, I do the marketing for the Cultural
yeah.
Center, and it's been an exciting thing to watch since I've been there. We've had Stephanie Mills, Keith Sweat, Anthony Brown, Barrington Levy, so just an incredible roster of performances.
Right, and I believe coming up shortly, the OJs are coming?
That's over at the amphitheater, which is one of our properties.
Right.
The next show that we have that's coming up that's really exciting is Tracy Morgan.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's August
Oh, wow.
21st. Yeah,
That's
so we're
gonna be
super
pretty crazy.
excited about that.
Right.
And this is one of his first tours back, post accident.
Right.
And he's excited to get out there. He is excited to be doing stand up again. That's his first love, and we're just here for it. And the Miramar Cultural Center is not only for residents, so we just want everybody in South Florida to visit the Cultural Center, because as I said, we've got such great programming.
Right. But before we get into the Cultural Center and what got you, who's Lisa, and how did she get into this marketing arena?
Wow. So Lisa, and I was born and raised in Jackson Heights, New York, which is a very diverse, populated. It's a community that has like people from all over.
Okay.
And then I moved to Miami for college, and started promoting events and just getting excited about different cultural events and being a mouthpiece for it. And through that, I started working for the tourism board, where we marketed the members or the local business owners to people who would visit. So it's just culture and marketing, and culture and promotion have just naturally been an evolution for me.
Okay.
So those are just two things. And I just love people.
Right,
And
right.
it's easy to market when you want to give people what they want, because that's what marketing is. It's like, well, what do you want? And let me figure out how to give that to you.
Okay. And then you transition, as you said, you're over at Miramar. Miramar, probably one of the largest, fastest growing cities in the state of Florida, probably maybe even in the United States. How does that lend itself to you doing your marketing?
It's the community. The community that's there is a largely Hispanic and largely Caribbean community. And I recently moved back from Washington, D.C., and to come back and work for a community where you see the higher ups and everybody look like you and speak like you, eat the foods you eat, speak the languages you're familiar with, it's empowering. And to see how even the different cultures work together and cross promoting each other's cultures with each other, and cross promoting foods and their experiences, it's been a personal sense of enjoyment and pride to watch.
Right. So, and again, you talk about you had Stephanie Mills there. So talk about a day in, how do you do that? How do you go through that process of bringing a Stephanie Mills to Miramar?
Well, we have an excellent booking manager, Jessica. She scours, and she literally, we listen to people through social media. We have suggestion boxes. We talk to the people at work. We talk to the people who visit the Culture Center for other purposes, and really get to know what their likes and their interests are. And as I said, like you mentioned, Stephanie Mills, where it's a largely Caribbean Latin community, you would think, oh, well, Stephanie Mills, does that actually? And to see how many different cultures actually really are familiar with her and love her was a surprise to me. You know, I was born and raised here, so of course I've always known who Stephanie Mills was, but I didn't expect people who are like maybe emigrated here, who are maybe 10, 15 years older than me to be as familiar. And to see that was...
Yeah, well, when you think about Stephanie Mills and her career and Broadway and those things, so people obviously being cultural know, I mean, she's
huge.
a huge artist, and that is amazing. But, you know, when I think about our community here in South Florida, and obviously Miramar, again, being one of the fastest growing and, like you said, very large Caribbean community, very large Hispanic or Latin community, having that, and you're in marketing, so does that lend itself to people think about, well, you know, Miramar is a place that I want to be?
I think once we join organizations like yours and get the word out, I think they will. I just think that maybe some people are unaware. You know, I mentioned that program. There's, as I said, another huge Latin component to our programming. We work with specific community partners that, because if I decide who we're gonna bring from Latin artists, I might not be hitting the right targets for the community. Right. So we work with promoters that know, that can speak to exactly who is popular for what age group, and who in the South Florida area is going to really draw a crowd. We want people to come for the performances, but there's an art gallery. We have a wedding venue. We have a beautiful picturesque garden that even if you don't want to get married there, you can come for the Instagram pics. You know, we have even the catering department. My first event there, I was surprised at the array of food. I'm used to, you know, catering food. Right. You know, it's a banquet hall. Right. But they literally produce the food of the people that live, the cultures that represent the community. So even eating there is an experience that I think is unusual. Right.
You know, I've been to performance inside the theater. I've been to a banquet in this banquet hall that is there, and I've been to events outside, and you all do such a great job. I know the mayor is just been a great voice for the community, and so marketing, I think that helps in doing your job. What would you say would be one of the biggest challenges?
I think people, there's a very, and I used to do it too, guilty, very like Dade, Broward sort of like, oh, I don't cross the line, I'm not going here. But Miramar is literally, like if we take it from just geographically on the west side, it's the most closest city of Broward that's closest to Dade County. Right. So there's not, it's not that far. Right. I think Broward people think, oh, well, that's a day trip. You know, if it's 10 minutes across, it could be 10 minutes from where you are, depending on where you live in Miami-Dade. It's close to Miami Gardens. It's close to, gosh, I should know more about this area, but it's even close to here. This is about 15 minutes away. It's about 25 minutes from Doral. So you'd be surprised at how adjacent it is to
convenient to traverse the roadways. And I know one of the things, once they finished 75, that made it a whole lot easier to maneuver around our communities. Miramar, again, when I think about the cultural activities that take place, and you do so much. I know you talked about what's coming up. Talk about, again, how do you make those decisions? The fact that you do have, like you said, promoters, but what goes into, you know, the thought process of marketing the cultural center?
The thought process is there are people that truly care about enriching the lives of the community.
Okay.
So that's the thought process. And when everybody there is passionate. You don't work at a cultural center because you want to rise. You know what I mean? Like, it's not an agenda. The agenda is culture. The agenda is people. It's about caring for the people who are around you. We have, junior chef competitions so that the kids get involved in culinary arts. We have comic expos.
Okay.
We have Afro-fusion dance, Latin dance, ballet. It's literally about fulfilling the interests and the passions of the people around us.
Right. And when you think about culture, and I guess basically we're talking about art from different art forms, and
Absolutely.
and that is the connectivity between people. Music is a connector. We talked about Stephanie Mills, and you were slightly surprised to see the patrons that came out, and it was across the board.
Yeah.
So obviously, culture connects us, and
Absolutely.
having a city that understands that is very important, and it's great when. And you think about it, and I listening to the radio or listening to TV, and you hear this is happening in Miramar, and it is great. And it's great to know that, there's someone that's really paying attention to it. So, and paying attention to it, are you looking at what's happening elsewhere, or it's just, this is Miramar, what does it mean to us as a community, and how do we, lift up that culture?
We do look elsewhere because we want to serve South Florida.
Okay.
We're Miramar Cultural Center, so the immediate need, the needs of the immediate neighbors is of course extremely important, but it's about South Florida, and again, the connectivity. We're all one community in that respect, and we look at other cultural centers and go there and enjoy their programming as well.
Okay.
It's literally about enjoying all of the culture that's around us, and we're one aspect of that, and we want people to come up and see us as we, we're not one note. We go to see other people. We want people to come see us because art is art, and wherever we can get, especially with the heaviness of everything around us, getting to enjoy art, music, family competitions, anything we can do to kind of just make things lighter and enjoy and make things more beautiful, I think is an opportunity that's needed and necessary. Yeah,
Right.
Needed, necessary, same thing.
Absolutely. And I know you mentioned some children's events. So how much focus is on children's programming?
A lot. So last week, Friday, August 5th, we had a culmination of our kids camps,
Okay.
where we did a showcase called Miramar's Got Talent. And we did this, we had the 3 judges. They're all children.
Okay.
So the
judges were children?
Exactly. They help develop the show. They help produce the show. They're acting in the show. So it's very collaborative. It's so kid. They get so involved and they're so passionate about it because we put it in their hands and work with them to guide them to do it better. The week before that, we had the Comic Expo. We had superheroes, movies. We had it really interactive. We taught the kids how to be monsters. It is, and you can't help but light up when you see these children so engaged and just becoming creators on the spot. The culinary programs that we have for children are among they're so enthusiastic. They get to wear a chef's hat and the full thing, and they get taught one-on-one, and they're making their own items and in a cook's kitchen, in a culinary kitchen.
Oh, wow.
So we try to take every experience and make it enriching. We have art programs and the art gallery where we showcase the children's art. It's a lot of it is, when you ask me how involved is it with kids, it's highly children centered.
So I'm going to flip from kids to seniors. So what is the senior programming looking like?
Well, because we're a city run facility, we have another facility that, with different programs. So I wouldn't say necessarily that we cater to specific programs for the seniors, but a lot of the programs we have, they just happen to be highly engaged in.
Right.
Especially things with kids.
Right.
You know, the seniors love to see the kids' performances and the kids' creations. And a lot of our artists.
Going back to Stephanie Mills, a lot of seniors grew up with Stephanie Mills, so they're gonna be there to see those things. And I know a lot of the throwback events, a lot of seniors attend those as well. So tell me, how does the year end in your program? I know you talked about what's happening in August. Tell us a little bit about what's coming up.
Well, we have a surprise, and if you go to Miramar Cultural on all platforms, Instagram, Facebook, we can reveal it a little later. As shows go, we can't reveal things right away.
Okay.
We have a huge rollout for Hispanic Heritage Month.
Okay, and that's September, October.
September.
It's actually September, October.
Exactly.
It's mid-September going into October.
Exactly. We have. I'm getting flipped.
Getting drawn a blank. It's okay.
I'm like, I have a beautiful brochure. We have, besides the Latin programming, we have, yes, BB Winans and Leandra performing together at the center.
Okay.
So that's
huge.
I know. I was like, how could I? But that's going to be huge. It's huge. We have a large gospel crowd.
Okay, right.
And so I went to my first gospel concert a couple of weeks back.
Okay.
It's not normally been my genre, but the energy, the excitement, the love makes a fan out of anybody. And so I'm just excited to go to my next one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, again, when I think about Miramar and how much it has grown, it's a beautiful city, and you do have, I guess you would say, old Miramar and new Miramar, but obviously it's all Miramar. Do you find that you have to market different, or it's just marketing to Miramar?
That's a hard one. And I say that because marketing is such an intricate thing,
right,
that I may have it. So it's not so much about East and West Miramar. I may say, well, I need to market to 20-year-olds who have a, this certain level degree, who like comics.
Right.
So I wouldn't necessarily say
separate
that it's
the two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's more kind of.
It's the demographic of the audience that you're trying to reach.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And because Miramar is so diverse, we have the opportunity to just we have so many different avenues that we can go into for entertainment, and know that we're going to reach somebody.
So if someone wants to learn more about Miramar Cultural Center, how can they find out?
So miramarculturalcenter.org, and then Miramar Cultural across all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Okay. And if you want to know more about the Miami-Dade Chamber, go to www.m-dcc.org or call the Chamber at 305-751-8648. This has been the Miami-Dade Chamber Member Connection.